skill games mark framework. Now, I'm going to run through it a bit with Lee, but can you put in the chat if there is anything that you would like to talk about, if you're here for a specific reason. I am going to run through the skill games mark framework because it is new this year, but if there's any questions you have, please just pop them in the chat throughout. I mean, they'll answer them as we go, just to make it as interactive and to serve you guys, because this is what we're here for. So yeah, I've gone through that. So this year, because of the pandemic what we're all in, and because of the pressure that's put on schools and just keeping in lockdown, Youth Sport Trust have changed Skill Games Mark to Skill Games Mark Framework. So this year it is just a review on your Skill Games dashboard that just helps you as a school to look at your engagement and your provision. Will help you to plan for your recovery curriculum and also summer term, and help you to maximise your engagement in the school games. Does anyone have any questions so far? So there will not be any grades, there will not be gold, silver and bronze. Your awards that you got in the previous academic year, so 2019-20, they still will be carried over. However, this is just a review tool to help you during the current circumstances, so you won't be graded on it, which is good. Pressure's off with that, but it's just to help you to look at where you're at and how you're going to plan going forward summer term, but also into the next academic year as well. Lee, I can't see any the chat, so if there are comments, can you monitor that, please?
Yeah, I'll keep an eye on the chat.
Thank you. So why do the Skill Games Mark framework? So there are 17 questions, that's all there is, and there's a lot of yes or no questions as well. So it can take you between 10 minutes and 20 minutes, depending on if you have the answers, if you job share. So it is very, very quick review that will really help you. So it'll help you to understand your current provision. So are you providing children with the opportunity to be active? And we know from the evidence and research when provided at the start that this has never been more important to get these children moving. It also provides a self-review of the current past provision, so the PE, school sport and physical activity provision, and identifies areas of growth across 4 themes. So in the review, there are 4 different themes: increasing engagement, developing appropriate competitive opportunities, young leaders, and sustaining participation. So it's just split into 4 sections. The biggest section is the first one, which is increasing engagement, I believe. It allows you to plan more effectively for the summer term. It just gives you a starting point and just enables you to write down your thoughts and plan. And there are top tips and solutions. And also, as always, we're always here to help you and support you through there. So if you do need any support to complete this, or there's anything you're unsure of, your lead or your officer, so Krishna, Lee, Sarah and Ali, will be here to support you, just like Skill Games Mark. So we're not going away, we're still here. So I just wanted to spark a little discussion between you all. You can pop it in the chat if you don't feel confident enough to speak, but it'd be nice to hear some of you. Just to get us thinking, 4 questions. Can you answer them? Any question, you can pick any one, we can go through them. It's up to you guys. Are there chats coming through, Lee?
We've got a couple of questions, so okay. Would you like to go through them now, or do you want to wait until the end?
Let's go through them now and then we'll do these questions.
Yeah, cool. Okay, so Jack, it would, yeah, basically, so it's gonna, so the question is, if the school doesn't have a grading at the moment, will it stay the same, or is it possible to get a new one? So because of the framework, whatever mark you were given last year during the last full year of School Games Mark, so that would be in 2019-2020, you'll basically retain the same grade from that year. So if you had a bronze, it would be a bronze. It will stay on your record. So you won't be getting anything like you used to, whether it was a plaque or a certificate, because we've just not been provided those this year, unfortunately. So to answer the question, the main schools it will affect is anyone that has gold or platinum. So this goes to your question, Kate and Rob. you will retain that status. So if you are working towards a platinum mark, you will still have that eligibility, even though we've not actually been able to do the application this year. So don't worry about that. And obviously, we are waiting to see what happens next year in terms of the school games mark, and whether that goes back to what we previously knew it was how it operated. Sorry. But at the moment, to answer your question, you will just retain the level you had last year. So hopefully that answers those two questions. Rebecca from Groveland, school hasn't currently taken part in this before. Yeah, so if you've not done it previously to this year, the framework is actually a really good starting point for a school that hasn't actually done it before, because it actually gives you a really good basis to actually see where you're possibly lacking. What we do as active schools, leads and officers is anyone, we're always there to support schools. So we will come in, have a phone call, in the current times have a virtual call over Zoom, Teams or whatever it might be, and actually kind of go through the application with you. As it's so different this year and it's not as time consuming, what you can do with the framework is just look at it, kind of put it up against what you currently do, and it will give you some top tips as to how you can actually kind of improve those areas that you're possibly lacking in at the moment. What we say to new schools is aim for bronze or silver. Obviously, it's quite hard to go straight in at gold if you've never done it before. But bronze and silver are really achievable. It's all kind of relative to how many pupils you have as well. It's quite a long process, but as we say, really use this framework at the moment if you've never done it before to actually see where you're currently at, and that can actually kind of guide your kind of focus for next year. Hopefully that answers that one for you, Rebecca. Any follow-up questions, please do pop them in. Lauren, just got yours through, so just have a quick read. Haven't started clubs yet, is not able to claim them as childcare requirement in the school. Are we now able to start clubs without this requirement? Yes, the government guidance is that clubs can begin. Again, that was a big question in terms of the normal school games mark. Under the framework, it's just asking the question of if you actually implement this. So it really it's going to be difficult to answer in some cases, because you can put, yes, we are going to start doing this once COVID allows us to do so. Hopefully that is from spring term onwards into summer term, sorry. So, it's you can start clubs, to answer the question, and relating back to the framework and school games mark, it's basically you can just use it as a tool and kind of see where you're at, but taking those COVID restrictions into consideration as well, because it has been very difficult, particularly in the autumn term, loosened up a little bit more in the spring term, but it does give you a chance to see where you're at. Hopefully that answers that one for you. Follow up from Jack quickly. Apologies, I'm kind of flying through these. Please tell me to slow down if I'm going too fast, Ilana.
No, all good.
So we are starting whole school athletics club, children stay in class bubbles. As far as we know, the government guidance is retain bubbles wherever possible. That's just safe practice at the moment. It's what we are kind of advising schools. Wherever you can keep bubbles, do so. However, on the flip side, the government is allowing outdoor competitions to take place. So, it's what you choose to do as a school, basically. We know, in some of my areas that I kind of work with, they are looking to get competitions going outdoors as soon as possible. They're looking at clubs like rounders and things where you can monitor equipment more closely than you would do with something like rugby, where the ball's being passed left, right and centre. So it's just a bit of kind of assessing what you're happy to do, what your SLT are happy for you to do. We know some schools are going to be a lot less strict than others. And we would just preach, just do what you're comfortable with. Don't feel under any pressure to kind of go and jump into competitions if you don't want to. If you feel that the strain of trying to keep kids in their bubbles is too much, just don't do it. It's advised that you can do these things. Actually doing it is totally up to you. So hopefully that answers that question as well.
I just ask a question.
Yeah, of course.
We've had invites to go to cricket tournaments. I think the problem we're looking at as a school is going to be travel to these tournaments.
Yeah.
It's like, where do you draw the line? Yeah. Myself, being a year 4 teacher, am I able to go in a taxi with the year 6 children? That's completely obviously breaking bubbles.
Yeah.
But then we as a policy don't so I wouldn't be able to drive. We could ask parents, but then that's again against the rules. But you could go in a taxi, which could have had X amount of people.
Yeah.
But then equally, I feel bad by saying no to children, but also saying no to the people who are trying to organise these.
Yeah.
Especially the year 6 children who have not had anything now for a year. You want to give them the opportunities to represent their school before they leave.
Yeah, so it's a very difficult one, and I think I was actually at Lancashire dropping something the other day actually for the Club 4 stuff. So you're within walking distance of a few other schools, aren't you? So
so we've got a few schools in Hoyland. We can go there. It was just this particular one was Merstham Career Club, where this is all organised, and that's we can't walk there. And being a school with quite small facilities ourselves, it's a little bit frustrating.
It is difficult. It's a really difficult one to answer, actually. I don't know if any other kind of PLEs in the room have actually kind of had to think about this, but what I've been saying to my kind of schools in Surrey Heath, Woking area is just try and stay as local as possible, as hard as that is, when you have certain limitations to facilities and things like that. If you can walk and use a facility that is within a walkable distance, that is the best thing. What we would say, we can't really advise on things like taxis and stuff like that because we just, I don't know the actual regulations and all that sort of stuff. However, as you say, it's going to be, you don't know where it's been, who it's carried and all that sort of stuff. But
yeah, Jack, sorry.
Go ahead,
Jack, I would just say, just do what you're comfortable with. And it's really fab that most of them are organising this cricket tournament, and we know the children are craving this and they need that for the mental well-being and the health, and we know how important it is. However, if you're not as a school ready yet, don't do that. Get some of the holy schools round and have your own cricket tournament. I know having it is different and representing your school, but I'm sure if you speak to Sarah, there could be competitions what you can organise so they can represent their school. And with the virtual Surrey School Games, what Charlie will talk about, if as a SSA you wanted to turn the virtual and you wanted to do that school v school, you could do that. We're providing you with the tools, and then if you want to change it and you have a competition, a rugby competition or a badminton competition against each other, then that's completely up to you. I would just say this is a very hard one. You've got to stay in the government guidelines, so we can't say anything other than
of course.
that.
Of course.
We want schools to be doing as much physical activity as possible. However, don't put yourself in a position where you're uncomfortable. Staff could be uncomfortable. It's not children, of course, we need to get them active, but also if you're on a taxi and you're in a bubble, probably not. I would definitely, it's a school by school case, I would say. It's not a national one fits all, because all schools are different, and I would speak to your SLT and just see what, as a school, what you decide and what you're comfortable with and what pace you move at. But yeah, definitely in your SSAs, if you can't go to your massive competitions at a club for X, Y, and Z, try and do something more local. But hopefully that helps. Has anyone got any other questions?
Yeah, thank you.
That's all right. Sorry, Jack. I know we can't be too much more helpful, but we're tired.
No, really. it was more just it's nice to hear from you guys, but also if anyone else had any ideas about, and that's a really good idea doing it locally. It's my SLT are very supportive of us trying to do things. You just don't want to be the group that suddenly something comes up and someone is positive or something like that. Although it's difficult when you're looking at all these children probably going to clubs and things outside of school now. Yeah, obviously under school you're under massive scrutiny, aren't you, to make sure you do the right thing. So yeah, exactly.
You guys have been in so much pressure for the past 12 months. You've had 3 lockdowns, you've homeschooled, you've done everything. Like, you guys have gone above and beyond, so don't add more pressure to yourselves that you don't need, because you guys as well, you need to look after your mental health and well-being, and from our point of view that's really important that you guys are comfortable and safe as well. And I'm sure your SLT is all be making sure that is the case, but from us as well, it's not just the children, it's also the staff, because I know you guys are like going out and chatting to each other and having that social with different teachers and things, and we miss it as well. We've not had that, and it's been very strange. But yeah, hopefully 2021, 22, the years are going, next year will be hopefully back to normal, and it'll be more activity, and you won't even be able to think about COVID restrictions, because it will be all good. Fingers crossed. Does anyone have any more questions? Because we've only got 3.5 minutes. So the questions that I put on the screen are questions in the review. So I just wanted to give you a taster of these questions that are actually in the review. I sent an email from the Active Schools account few weeks ago now given you 2 presentations on the School Games Mark framework, a little short one and a long one. So if you wanted to present it to anyone in school, or you can, short or long, and we've done a Word document what's got all the questions in for you. So if you wanted to print that out and do it before you actually did it on your school game dashboard, then you could. So what I will make sure is that is emailed to you again after this, so you have that again. But does anyone have any questions? Let me check. Just some feedback from one of the schools that's completed it. He said it was really easy to find on your dashboard. So when you log on your dashboard, there's a School Games Mark, and it is in yellow saying School Games Mark framework, but you can find it in 2 places, can't you, Lee? So at the top, but also...
Yes, as soon as you may be more familiar with the actual clicking onto the School Games Mark tab at the very top of your dashboard. Then there's a yellow bar where it says click here to access your framework toolkit, and then you can search for it just through the kind of search function as well. So it should be very easily accessible.
Yeah, he also said that it took him around 10 minutes, but if it wasn't P lead or had been doing the role for a long time, you might be a new P lead this year, and thrown into the deep end, then it might take you a little bit longer. He found it really useful, and it was always good to assess where you're at and where you need to go. So really, it's just, for me, the School Games Mark framework, I would say, is really, really important this year, just for you guys, to help you plan, to help see where you are, to help see where the gaps are, and to see where you might need some assistance. It could be from anything from Active Surrey, or it could be from the Teach Active, or the Active Schools movement could fit in, or anything. So I would definitely have a go at completing it. If you're not registered onto your School Games dashboard, that's really easy. Make sure you're registered. Schools really should be registered on that. You get information and different things, and you can put your competitions on there, and that's how you complete your School Games Mark framework. And hopefully next year, maybe School Games Mark back with a few amendments, because it would be nice to have that tweaked as well, a bit more in line with what's happening. But yeah, does anyone else have any more questions? We have got...
It's also worth mentioning, we're hopeful that we've not been given any indication that it's going to change next year. However, obviously it may do. We are obviously very big advocates of the School Games Mark, as many of you probably know, that we push you quite hard to actually get those completed. But I would just say keep an eye out on any communications from us. We normally kind of start communicating about the School Games Mark probably just before Christmas, just to kind of give you a bit of a heads up that it's on the way. The application window is normally open from April, Alana, through to August, end of April to August. So we're normally quite hot on it, and actually kind of making sure we get our communications out to you. We've got 28 seconds just as a FYI. So, but yeah, it's any questions on the School Games Mark. As I said, you've all got our kind of emails, or the general Active Schools email. Just get in touch. But we are hopeful that we can just get back to the normal School Games Mark from 2020, 2021 year.